As I'm here with Josh, the concepts we're going to talk about today are some of my most fundamental concepts of back mount, and we're going to not only talk about them conceptually, but we're going to translate them into a system for making sure you stay on the back when you get to the back. A lot of people initially get good at certain elements of position. So when I first got good at back mount, it was arm drags and getting to the back mount from closed guard. I was like 6 months into jiu-jitsu, just got obsessed with getting on people's backs, but I never stayed there. They were bigger guys, they would turtle up, I got shaken over the top, I didn't finish that much when I was back there, I could just get there. But there's a science to being able to stay there forever. The fact of the matter is here, this is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There is no better position right now than this. Mixed martial arts, we could argue it's the same ball game. He's got really not much on me in terms of being able to hit or submit or do much to me. I've got all the freedom in the world to be able to set up my chokes if it's gi or transition off to arm bars, do all kinds of stuff. So I like to stay here forever. The basic conceptual grounding that we're going to talk about is the 4 elements I need to stay on someone's back. We're going to talk about these 4 elements conceptually, then we're going to break this down into a system to make sure we stay here. So conceptually, what I need with Colicon is I need 4 things. I need my upper body aligned with his. So I need my sternum between his shoulder blades. Generally means something like this. I need this. And then I also need my lower body to be aligned with his, which generally means my hips somewhere behind his hips near his sacrum back there. Lower portion of the spine. Boom. Here. But this we would not call back mount. I also need attachment of the upper body. But this is also not back mount yet. And then I need attachment of the lower body. So if I have alignment and attachment, and I have alignment and attachment, I now have back mount. My job is maintaining these 4 elements. His job is getting rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, as many as he can of those elements. That's essentially the game. We can kind of turn it into a little bit of a game. When we do live rolling from here, you guys can think about it that way. Okay, he still has attachment, but his alignment's off. If I'm here with Colicon, we can say I'm still pretty well attached with my upper and lower body to his, but I don't really have alignment anymore. It might be possible to choke him because I got a gi on, but it's not back mount. If we're in a point scoring position, I'm in a tournament or something, no ref is going to be like, back mount, because I'm not there. Similarly, if I have my hooks and I'm here, now I have everything except for what one element?
Alignment.
Ah, yes, I have the attachment, right? I just need the alignment. So I need my sternum between the shoulder blades. So we can think about back mount situations as though I contemplate back mount when I'm on someone's back. I'm always running through my head, what elements is he getting rid of, and what elements do I need to recover or keep in place or whatever there. Generally speaking, the most common escape from back mount, one that Josh has done many times, if I tilt him off to the side, is going to be stomping out my low hook and scraping his hips to the mat. Boom, here, he's going to try to cut that elbow in between us, and then we're going to turn into a scramble. Who knows who's going to get on top? That's probably the most common back mount escape. We just refer to it as the scrape off escape. He's just scraping his body off of mine. So he's getting rid of alignment first, which is kind of loosening up the whole amalgam of stuff, and then he's getting rid of attachment and he's scrambling up the top. So as this happens, here's the way I counter it from the get-go. We're going to go best case to worst case. The way I counter it from the get-go, as I tip Josh off to the side, as he starts to shift his hips off, you see how I'm starting to lose that bottom hook, guys? Look, my heel is just barely on his hip bone. He moves that a little bit farther, and that might be gone. And now it's a little bit even more of a scramble. It's not lost for good, but it's harder. So if he's starting to scrape off, go ahead. What I'll do from here is I'm going to take this hook, my top hook, I'm going to bring it behind his knee. I'm going to take this hand, my top hand, grab his wrist. Now watch. I'm going to flare my elbow, I'm going to flick his knee, throw my hook in again, and maintain my alignment. So what's really happening here is he's mostly getting rid of the alignment of the lower body. That's the biggest thing. He's also starting to get rid of the attachment, because if that low hook goes, boom, he's getting rid of both now, which is even worse. So slide back. Yeah. So as he's here, slide out. The alignment's really gone, but the attachment's still there. So what I need to do, make sure I have a semblance of that hook. Catch behind the knee. Now watch. I flare the elbow because, is my chest where it should be? Yeah. Not really. It's right behind his shoulder, right? Should be between his shoulder blades. So I'm going to flare his elbow and flick his knee. I still have attachment, upper and lower, but my alignment's going both ways. So I fix my upper and lower body alignment by doing this. Now pull myself up in position. Bang. Back to a good back mount. Okay, we'll get it to the other side. Super common escape on his part. It's just my first line of defense to counter it. Behind. I grab the wrist. I'm not grabbing his gi here, I'm actually grabbing his wrist. Now I make sure I have a semblance of a hook here. I'm going to flick with this top leg, flare with my elbow, boom. As his leg flops to the ground, sink that hook back in, bang. I'm right back in here. Now I've got my alignment and my attachment back. The most common escape is trying to shake that alignment off. So that you might not be able to pry both hooks off with some magical ability, but you can grind the alignment off to the point where I no longer have back mount. The way I counter that, flick the hips to get my lower body back, flare the elbow, get my upper body back, pull myself back to a good back mount, okay? First line of defense. Let's give this one a shot. So, let's say I'm in this position with Rob. Now, my ideal is, as I stated before, when I get to the back mount, I like to stay there forever until I finish the guy. Now, if I'm losing on points badly, then maybe sometimes I'll have to bail on the position and go for some crazy armbar thing because he's really good defending his neck. Most of the time when you're on somebody's back, you're up on points. If you're competing, and if you're not competing and you're on someone's back because they just tackled you in the street, most of the time the rear naked choke defense isn't like brown belt level or something. I mean, most of the time you're going to be able to lock it up. So my philosophy when I get here is stay here until the fight is over. Always stay here until the fight is over, beating people up from this position to maintain it, and then just finish from there. I'm all about staying here. So when I get to this spot, boom, I tilt. I'm maintaining as many of my elements as possible. One thing that should be made note of, and we're going to integrate this into the drill, is that the more effective my back mount just as a position is, the more painful and horrible it will be for him, and the more difficult it will be for him to do any counters. If I'm here, Rob can probably start to slide his hips out. Yes, and he probably could if he wanted to, maybe even flick my top hook out and try to get to his base. Yeah. And now we'd have to fight. No, you did the right thing. Yeah. So yeah, if I'm just kind of here, kind of lax on the position, it's probably possible for him to take initiative and do whatever he wants in terms of escape. But when I'm on his back, it should only be my initiative. I'm going to be forcing him to just play my game, and my game really will not allow him to start thinking like, oh, I could escape this way, I could escape this way, I could escape this way. It should only be, and I talk about this all the time, he should only be having thoughts about how much his dental bill is going to cost, and what it's really like to go unconscious, and if he wants to know or not, if he should just tap now, and then if he should keep doing jiu-jitsu, and like why he even chose to like do this rather than like he'll have like fond memories of other sports, Those are the like he'll be like, man, soccer was so like we just kick stuff, like, and we didn't kick each other, we just you want him to be thinking about those things because your background should be horrible. Should be a horrible position. So I'm here on Rob, I'm going to be very nice to him. But when I'm here on Rob, I want this forearm of mine always in contact with something. And I hope it's his neck. Like I'm just crossing my fingers that I'm going to feel soft stuff. But every now and again, it's not going to be the case. His jaw's going to be down. So be it. It's jiu-jitsu. So I'm here, grabbing behind the shoulder, rolling my wrist a little bit. There's always just going to be pressure on his face. If you're in a self-defense situation, if you're below the tooth line, you just lock it up. No problem. If you're in a high-level tournament, when you guys get to like the finals of expert divisions, or you get to purple belt tournaments or something like that, I'll probably tell you to finish. If you're in a white belt tournament, I'll be like, be nice to the guy. But if you get hardcore tournaments, it's the same bet, as long as you're below the teeth line. But either way, I always want to be making contact and having my grip. My hooks are in nice and shallow. My knees are not on the ribs, they're not on the hips, they're right in between where stuff squishes. So I'm on the squishy stuff. My heels are digging, my knees are pinching, my chest is pulling through his chest. I'm not just kind of like gripping him. I'm pulling in with my biceps, and I'm using my lats, my rowing muscles, to pull my sternum like I'm trying to touch his sternum. Come right through him. Here. And at the same time, I'm stretching with my hips. Not with my head. This is a head stretch. Making space and getting away from him. I want to stay tight, moving my hips. The knees tight. The tendency is to do this big butterfly thing. I want my knees tight as I stretch them. Now, for Rob to start to get his hips to the mat, or for Rob to turn to his base, is going to be way harder. Because his primary concerns are like, his spine and his teeth. And those should be his concerns. So when we're doing these drills and you go back to a back mount, don't like beat each other up. But make sure everything is tight. Settle into the best back mount ever. Ever. When we adjust and we reset into a good back mount, make it the best back mount ever. Make your automatic reaction for when you're on someone's back and here. Like if someone tackled you while you were like asleep, just woke you up like, ah, and you just magically appeared on their back, you should before you even wake up, you're like, oh, you should just be stretching them out. It should be muscle memory, because I don't want you guys to get to this position and have it be his game of escapes and you trying to follow. Just background stuff, it should only be your game. So I talk a lot about philosophy, I'm going to back it up with a lot of technique, but I really need that in your guys' heads. It shouldn't be like, okay, I'm on the back, so now I gotta follow him and keep it. No, ideally, you're on his back and he's just thinking about the horrible things that are happening to him and you're just imposing your will on him. That's what should be happening because he doesn't really have as much an issue as me. So, anyway, if we're here and let's say, despite my horrible back mount, Anansi is good at escaping, he gets that hip out, yep, and now he goes as far as to get that hip all the way past my foot. So now he's not only messed up alignment, he's messed up what? Attachment. Nate mouthed it. So he knew, but he was still kind of shy. So I'm here. I'm going to put my toe on the ground. My right toe. At which point I'm staying nice and tight to rock. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull with this foot on his knee, and I'm going to move my hips underneath him. I'm not going to pull him over me. I'm going to move my hips underneath him. Head touching his head. Hook comes in. Now what do? I grab his bottom wrist. I lift the arm. Switch my grips, and I come through. So my low arm is choking again. More important in no-gi, but I like it in gi too. Grip, winding my forearm into his chin. Or yeah, if he lifts it, great, happy birthday. But a lot of times he's gonna keep it down here. Stretch. Right away I'm in this position. Should be really snug. He slides out again. It goes all the way up. I'm gonna stay nice and tight. Again, look, he's gotten to the point where I don't have that anymore. So I keep that foot placed out. I'm going to pull my hips to that foot, pulling this knee. Rotate. Second hook comes in, switch my grips. Yeah, immediately. Just reaction, okay? So be nice and easy on each other. Thanks, Ron. Be nice and easy on each other, but really integrate. As soon as you get to back mount, it's a horrible back mount. Just like whenever we practice guard passes, it's always into a good side control. I don't want anybody drilling bad side control, okay? Now, let us say I'm in this scenario with Mr. Huck here. And boom, I'm on the back, I'm in position. Again, I'm being mean to him. As soon as I'm in back mount, guys, I'm already doing all the meanest stuff I can do. You know, I'm here. There's no back mount where I'm like, sweet, I got here. Oh, did I get points? Nice. I'm never satisfied with points. I'm only satisfied with one of the two menu options which are available for my back mount. Back mount's a lot like a restaurant, except there's only two menu options. And the menu options are the dentist or the end of a Looney Tunes episode. So one of them is like, ooh, all the black, that it disappears, and then the other one is just like bridge work. So those are the only two things that I'm really focused on getting. So I'm never satisfied with just having back mount. I'm always focused on the submission. And by virtue of doing that, I'm making the game a lot harder for him. If I was just focused on position, and I wasn't thinking about the sub, I would actually be making it easier on position for him. I need the constant threat of the submission to not only stay here for good, but to count on my sub. So either way, it's helping me in all dimensions. As I'm here with Matt though, let's say, stretching out, doing everything I need to do, he slides off, go ahead, and now he slides off not only to the point where he's beaten this foot of mine, but he slides off even farther to the point where he's past that leg. Now, my alignment is gone. I have zero alignment with my lower or upper body. And I have somewhat attachment with both. I have pretty good attachment with my upper body. My lower body, all I have is this one hook. So he's disassembled like 80% of what functionally would look like a good back mount in this given scenario here. However, I'm going to look to recover. Most people would bail on the position. It's actually quite easy to recover from here. I'm in this position. I'm keeping my head to Matt's head. I can grab underneath this far armpit of his, or I can grab onto this wrist. I prefer to grab the far armpit. This knee stays on his stomach. My foot stays between his feet. What I'm going to do now is, watch this, guys. I'm driving my temple, or my forehead into his temple. I'm going to take my left foot, bring it behind me, and watch. I'm going to drive into him. Once I've driven into him like this, I'm going to slide this left knee high behind his head, and I'm going to rock in the direction of my hips, not my back. Top hook comes in. As soon as my top hook comes in, I can switch my grips. If it's too hard to switch my grips, I'll just stretch them. But generally, it's not going to be too hard when I lift. Boom. here. He escapes one more time. He goes all the way through. Yeah, that's annoying. So I'm here. My forehead and his temple, grabbing the armpit, grabbing the wrist, driving through. Look, my sternum is where it needs to be already. I'm not here. Oh, cool, I'm on the side. I'm here. My knee goes up behind his shoulder. I rock him. Switch my grips. Super tight. All right? So for this one, we'll do the exact same thing. So we'll go through this whole transition. We'll do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we switch. In between each one of those, have a 10-second pause where you're just squeezing and holding back mount as hard as you can. Be nice on the face, but be really, really tight with the lower body, and make sure you're at least making contact up here. So sternum should be pulling through to touch his sternum through his ribs. Your knees should be pinching, heels should be clamping, hips should be driving. Hold it for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Use those isometric muscles. Get used to feeling like as soon as you get to back mount, boom, you just stick it. Like gymnastics, just perfect back mount every single time. All right? We've talked about, I'm probably going to go a little bit late on this one just to make sure we integrate all 4 of these as a drill. Really, I see these 4 are like 4 of kind of the key back mount retention tools that I use. The first one is the easiest, the second one is pretty easy, this third one there's even more motion involved. You'll notice the less motion you have to make and the more you stay right in back mount, the better. The more you have to dance and go crazy to be able to get back into the position, the harder it is, the more likely he is to be able to get out. So I want to be able to limit things. Every now and again though, he gets almost all the way out and I really got to be able to fight to get back there. But this is one of my key tricks. This is where 95% of people bail on the position. I have a great success likelihood in terms of staying in the position by doing the following. So let's say I'm here with Nate. One of my favorite techniques, forcing the seated turtle. So I'm here with Nate, say I'm tilting him to the side, let's say I'm being mean to him, I'm going to be nice to him, let's say I'm being mean to him, stretch him. He escapes, go ahead, yeah, he goes all the way out. Now let's say he goes so far out to the point where, yeah, maybe I even lose this top hook. So, or maybe I'm so far out that there's no way, like I'm driving into him, and I'm not turning him to his side. This whole thing is not going to happen. So I'm here, and maybe I have to shake this. When I shake this, so I'm here guys, notice my forehead again is in his temple. When I shake this foot of mine, drop, I'm going to switch to my base and I have my hand switching to his armpit on this side. So when I cut up, it looks like I could drive him this way, but he's turning into me so hard that's not going to be possible. So what I do instead is I step this leg up, sit him forward, and then I'm going to sink my back mount hooks from here. So watch. I was in this position, he escaped all the way. Boom. And maintain my back and back. So, stay with here. Boom. Here, yep. Goes all the way out to the point where I'm losing like everything. I can't turn into him, So what I do instead of trying to turn him sideways, is I force him to sit. Grab the armpit, step this foot up, now watch. Sit him forward. As I sit him forward, I throw my same side hook in because it's the choking side. So as soon as I lean him forward, boom. If I trap his arm in the process, happy birthday. Doesn't always happen, but I'm going to go for it. It'd be really cool if it happened. Here, knees tight, now I can stretch him out. So he's to the point where I've lost everything except for attachment of the upper body. Alignment is gone, and alignment and attachment are both gone on the lower body, but by simply making some adjustments and using his energy, instead of trying to turn him sideways, I'm just going to sit him up. One more time. This is not my first choice, but if it comes to blows, and I have a choice between doing this and settling for side control, better believe I'm going to fight for the back if it's reasonable. Boom, slides out, keep sliding. Yep, and listen, there's no way of turning him, so turn into me. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to turn him this way. It's just not happening. Sit him forward. Knees tight, stretch. Super tight. All right? You want to see that one?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. Alex, how are you? Let's say I'm here with Alex. Works fine for Nogi. Boom. In position. As he's turning, I always make sure I have this, guys. It's a really important key tool. Most people use this for pretty much every technique. It's a really useful tool. Because if I'm here, there's this space for his elbow to slip through. If I'm here now, I can match my elbow to his and flare and generally turn him away from me. But let's say keep turning, yep. Good. Yeah. So turn his face. Yeah, he's here. And I'm just not driving him in this way. Armpit. Cut to my base. Step. Sit him forward. Hook. Yeah. All right. So hook's nice and shallow, and he's on the squishy stuff like we talked about, and then going right across the neck. If you get your choke, great. Otherwise, we're not going to be too hard on each other, but making sure you're making contact with that. That's what we want to get used to every time, all right? Thank you. What we're going to do in terms of this particular technique is I'm going to go through all 4 of the ones that we've done in particular sequence. So as I'm here, I tilt off to this side. Rob's going to start to adjust. I sweep, boom, and I hook back on. So again, I flick and flare. I flare here, my foot, boom, lock right back on. Now he slides off to the point where he's here, at which point I pull myself all the way under, sweep my grips, stretch him out again. All right, he's tight. He's going to escape again. All the way to the point where he gets past my leg. Now I'm going to drive into him, drive my knee up, slap it in, switch my grips. Stretch him out. Now he's going to do it again. He's going to go so far out and turn so far into me that I need to go here. Step this knee up behind the head. Lift, hook, hook. Land right back in position. Here. So I go once through the whole circuit, then I'll go again through the whole circuit on the other side. Boom. So I'm working 8 techniques in total. At which point the other person's going to go. All right? So we're using all these tools. And in kind of summation here, just as like a philosophical overview, the concept is if you're doing everything right aggressively, it actually makes his options limited. So it's not, getting the submission isn't just for the submission, you're doing it because it's keeping his mind and his body focused on ow, 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 and not making you chase him around the background. You do not want it to be his initiative. You're there, you have your whole body working against his, man, make him be the reactor. And if you lock his kidneys together, stretch him out, man, he's not going to be able to turn either way very well. So it should always be hyper aggressive when we get there. So be tight between positions here. Give the guy just enough room to work his escapes, and know that these are going in sequence. Smallest amount of motion to most motion. He's eliminating maybe just a little bit of alignment with the hips as opposed to everything except for attachment of the upper body. So we're focusing on disassembling and reassembling the back mount based on those 4 concepts. What were they, guys?
Attachment, my alignment
of the
top and the bottom.
Yeah. So I need upper body, attachment, sternum between the shoulder blades, or alignment, sternum between the shoulder blades, and attachment. I need lower body, alignment, hips, alignment with the sacrum, and attachment, either one hook, both hooks, or a body triangle. Either way, that's all attachment. I want to have one of all those things. All right? Very good, guys.